I want to explain what led up to the explosion at the Palm Springs Fertility Clinic, which was done by Guy Edward Bartkus. If you think I did a good job in this explanation, please subscribe, as I suspect YouTube might restrict this for being too fresh. I decided to have the congressman's statement in the background as a counter to what we will be discussing. To do this explanation justice, we need to start with a completely different case, a homicide case, the homicide of 27-year-old Sophie Tenny. Sophie was shot multiple times by Lars Eugene Nelson in April. This shooting was planned in advance by Sophie herself. She wanted Lars to shoot her in her sleep. This is something prosecutors have talked about, and so did Guy Edward Bartkus. Sophie, according to Guy, was his best friend. He claims they were both anti-sex misandrists. They were, and I'm going to butcher this, VegAntinatalist. Maybe VegAntinatalist, meaning vegan and against human procreation. They fused the terms vegan and antinatalist. They were also negative utilitarians, meaning to minimize suffering before maximizing pleasure. He claimed they both had borderline personality disorder, and he put the word disorder in quotes. He claimed they agreed that if one died, the other would follow. He put this on his website, which is why I felt it was important to speak of this case first. Guy calls himself a pro-mortalist, which is a claim that the best thing you can do is end yourself. To explain this point, he linked to a YouTuber on his website that seems to have done just that a few years ago, judging by a quick Google search and people saying they had done so. In Guy's own words, he says, all a pro-mortalist is saying is let's make it happen sooner rather than later, and preferably peaceful rather than some disease or accident to prevent your future suffering, and more importantly, the suffering your existence will cause to all other sentient beings. On his website, he lists what he calls good stuff, which includes video transcripts of Adam Lanza, the Aponist Manifesto, the subreddits Circle Snip and Vistopia, as well as many YouTubers. Both subreddits that he listed have now made statements against him. Most of the YouTube channels are inactive that he linked, and the active ones have not made statements at the time of this recording. With all that said, I also need to tell you he made a 30-minute confession video. And the best way I can describe this video is it is him smelling his own farts and saying they are amazing. He makes it clear the plan was to bomb an IVF building. People were wondering if this was maybe a misplaced attempt. No, it was planned. Because nobody got his consent before he was born. He also said the argument that he couldn't give consent because he didn't exist is childish, and it's just like saying that a girl who is asleep can't consent, but it's okay because she can't give the consent. He said he didn't want to be a life addict. He compared life to a drug. Yes, like you hear people say, I'm high on life. He viewed it as an actual drug. His explanation of this included People kept inviting him to things like concerts when he was growing up. He doesn't think there's any fundamental good. The best you can do is clean up your messes. And he cited a YouTuber. He also linked to this YouTuber in his website. Inmendham. Not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it exactly. Saying there is no carrot, only the whip. He also mentioned him again. Inmendham. Also called him Gary. I looked him up. Apparently he's decently well known on the internet. Trying to quote him saying something like, "You spill milk, clean up a small portion of it, and pat yourself on the back." Guy said existence is slavery to a DNA molecule. He says this is really important. People are trying to prevent others from ending their lives are just like people pushing drugs because life is a drug. Sorry, my bullshit detector must be going off. I'm allergic to it. If you watch my videos, it happens sometimes. So yeah, he really likes this comparison, comparing life to a drug. And the Adam Lanza bit on his website, I was wondering if that would tie back into his 30-minute audio recording, and it did. He suggests you can actually prevent mass shootings by giving them a right to die. He doesn't like the current existence of right to die, though. He wants right to die to be when you want, not involving things like illness. He compares it to limiting free speech. And he says the only negative is if you do it and you really didn't want to, you just go to sleep. He discusses methods people use, and he is very against IVF. He says it's extremely wrong. He says IVF is people sat there, thought about it, and decided to do it. He is full on anti-life, and ignorance is not an excuse. He complains about factory farms, repeats how it isn't okay to have children without their consent. And he says that people are shadow banning and censoring those who discuss these topics. And that is going to be interesting, because I get the feeling there are going to be a lot of social media channels that disappear. He listed out Sophie's socials. I expect they'll probably go away, like TikTok probably isn't going to want that. I expect that some of the YouTube channels he names are probably going to get a deep look by YouTube, maybe have some videos taken down as well. This is rather fresh at the time of my recording, so nothing's happened, but I would not be shocked if the result of him doing this is in fact an increase in shadow bannings and censorship. In fact, I expect this video to get restricted in some ways, just by discussing it. If not after recording, after an increased protocol is done to basically look for videos like this. He doesn't like the internet in the current state, though. He's against transhumanism. He says he is a pro-mortalist, but he doesn't like the term. People, what they assume it means isn't what it means. He is pro-non-existence. He doesn't want to cause death and destruction, which he admits is kind of funny considering what he did, or is going to do at the time of the recording. But he's doing it so people take it seriously, because he can't talk about it because the internet is censored, which I know he said this because he posted it on his website, and then it got reposted to Twitter. And I can also find out what he's talking about by going to the plethora of social media links he gave that weren't censored, but might be now? Okay. He complains about AI and AI censorship because it can figure out context, and he says Elon Musk banned anti-natalism as a term on Twitter. He says he cares about all sentient life and all beings on Earth. He is a vegan, but he hates the harm caused by nature too. Yes, you got that right. A vegan that hates nature. I do wonder if he would prefer nuclear apocalypse, right? Like I reading through it, watching some of the YouTube videos he linked, listening to him, I feel like he wants like a nuclear Armageddon to destroy all life, and that would be like the best scenario. Because he doesn't like nature either. And he doesn't like that he knows people are going to say he gets off to this, because that's not true, because he's not going to be around. He claims he is doing it because he cares and he is being censored. Again, it's all out there. I think he's misunderstanding people not agreeing with being censored in a lot of cases. I really do. I'll get more into that in a bit, though, because we continue. He says if people knew the truth, they wouldn't keep with the system. Again, he just thinks that it's people don't know. He apologizes for his rambling. He complains people will say this is about his feelings, which this is 100% about his feelings. This is about the death of his friend more than anything, in my opinion. Pro-mortalists aren't making death happen. They are just saying let it happen sooner. Parents are making the deaths happen. And if you hear this argument he's making and you disagree, you are being dishonest. And I think that is like the core of what he claims with like censorship. I think people are telling him he's wrong or an idiot or they don't agree. And he is taking that as censorship, right? But at the same time, I saw some of the things he linked. I saw some of the things he said in this. He probably was getting censored in some instances. I'm not going to deny that. But I feel like a lot of it is people saying, I don't agree. And he's like, oh, you're just stuck in the system. It's a weird, like, a weird dynamic. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to use for the thumbnail, but I do want to be clear that at the time of this recording, there is no official photo of the guy. There are people posting what they claim are photos of him, but I believe those are actually a YouTuber that he links. So, I don't believe it's him. And I think people are spreading a incorrect photo. Basically, if I were to sum it up, it seems to me like a guy just doesn't like life, found a friend who doesn't like life, and after the friend was gone, they decided to end it, and they really believe that everyone will suddenly wake up. You hear this in so many cases with terror. It's terror is what it is. With like, yeah, we'll do this and send a message. Do I think people are going to be inspired by this? No, I don't. I might be wrong, but I don't. I don't think they will. I mean, there's already, as I said, the subreddits are calling him out. I expect crackdowns to happen. I expect social media to actually start censoring these topics, and I expect it to move even more underground than what it already is. It is more niche than, I would argue this is more niche than the incel movement, right? So, I think he failed at like almost everything. From my understanding, the only person that died was him. So that's the one thing he wanted. But the facility's damaged, but from my understanding, the expensive equipment is fine, all the employees are fine, the embryos are fine. So yeah. And there's a decent chance there'll be a massive fundraiser for the fertility clinic. and they will rebuild. And if there is enough money, I wouldn't be shocked if they do like discounts to try to, help more people be able to afford it because they got this money. And wouldn't be like a scholarship. I don't know what you would call it, right? A fund to help people have children. And he's probably going to end up leading to even more birth. And I think that is the legacy he doesn't want, and the legacy that he's going to have actually left behind.